While Resident Evil 0 focused on STARS' Bravo team investigating the Eclipse Express, Resident Evil 1 revolves around Alpha Team, who are dispatched to the Arklay Mountains after RPD loses contact with Bravo. Composed of the Alpha Team are protagonist Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, Barry Burton, Brad Vickers, and Joseph Frost, and of course, the captain of STARS and the leader of Alpha Team himself, Albert Wesker. Now, just as a reminder that this is a newly edited, restructured version of our recap from a few years back, but now in 4K and 60 FPS with some new details added. And yes, we're also covering Outbreak, Outbreak File Number 2, Umbrella Chronicles, and Darkside Chronicles.
Bizarre murder cases have recently occurred in Raccoon City. There are outlandish reports of families being attacked by a group of about 10 people. Victims were apparently eaten. The Bravo team was sent in to investigate, but we lost contact.
Look, Chris!
The horror at Arklay Mountains. Resident Evil 1 kicks off with the Alpha Team flying their chopper over the Arklay Mountains, where they spot Bravo Team's crashed chopper in the forest and decide to land and investigate. As is so often the case in Resident Evil games, however, things, unsurprisingly, quickly go south. Alpha Team is attacked by a pack of rabid, zombified dogs, more hellhounds than dogs, to be honest, and the aforementioned Joseph Frost is promptly killed. The pilot, Brad Vickers, panics instantly, jumps back into the chopper and takes off, abandoning the rest of his team in the forest and surrounded by vicious beasts hell-bent on tearing them apart. Their only option is to flee on foot, and soon they find unlikely refuge in an abandoned mansion nearby. No prizes for guessing, it is the Spencer Mansion. But though Alpha Team has managed to escape the zombie dogs in the forest, the insides of the mansion aren't faring much better. Thanks to an earlier attack by James Marks' Queen Leech, the T-Virus has broken out in the Spencer Mansion, which means it's now effectively a labyrinthine death trap full of mazes, traps, and of course, zombies and other terrifying bioweapons. Including among those is Lisa Trevor, whose decayed remains have also been reanimated by the T-Virus. Following which, she once again roams the halls of Spencer Mansion, prolonging her endless torture yet again. Alpha Team is forced to square off against all of this and more as they explore Spencer Mansion in an effort to not only uncover its secrets and the secrets of Umbrella, but also find a way out alive and make it back to Raccoon City. Inside the mansion, the search stops feeling like an investigation, and it starts to feel like a slow-motion ambush.
Jill, don't scare me.
Speak for yourself, Barry. What are you doing here?
Yeah. Well, I think you should take a look at this. I warn you, though, it's not pretty. It's forest.
The massacre inside the mansion. While in the mansion, Chris and Jill also come across members of Bravo Team, though not in the state that they would hope to find them. Most have either died or become zombified, though one who is clinging to life still is Enrico Marini, Bravo Team's captain. You're finding Bravo Team in fragments. Kenneth's tape is the kind of discovery that instantly tells you this wasn't a crash and a bad night. He was literally eaten by a zombie. Then comes the moments that pin the horror in place. Not just shambling corpses, but the kind of umbrella horror that makes your stomach drop, like running into Richard Aiken and how he sacrifices his life for others. And Forrest Speyer, if you know, you know. As Chris and Jill push deeper, the mansion keeps pulling masks off itself. Yawn isn't just a mere animal. There are many times where this infection stops looking like an outbreak and starts looking like an experiment, with Plant 42 blooming like a weapon that learned how to hate. Barry's dilemma. Barry stays close to Jill, guiding her through the mansion's worst choke points and showing up at just the right time when exactly she needs. For a while, it reads like simple teamwork under pressure, until the pattern starts to feel wrong. Because behind the scenes, Barry isn't acting on instinct. Wesker has him on a leash. Wesker, secretly Umbrella's inside man, corners Barry with the one kind of threat that actually works on him: his family. And once that pressure is on, Barry becomes a quiet accomplice in the mansion's cover-up, wiping away loose ends, steering Jill away from the wrong discoveries, and nudging her towards danger when Wesker needs a test subject instead of a survivor. Either Chris or Jill, depending on who you choose to play as, run into Marini, who informs them that one of Alpha Team's members is a traitor and loyal to Umbrella. Before he can reveal the traitor's identity though, Marini is shot and killed by an unseen attacker.
Umbrella set us up.
Rico! Traitor? Who?
Rebecca Chambers, Bravo Team's young medic, is also still alive, separated from her squad after the crash and forced to survive around the Spencer estate. In Chris's story especially, she isn't just a cameo. She becomes a rare lifeline inside of the mansion, and at one point she's found desperately trying to treat a critically wounded Richard Aiken, pushing Chris to find serum before it's too late. The truth revealed. Slowly but surely, as Chris and Jill explore the mansion, they begin to put the pieces together about Spencer Mansion and the lab underneath, Umbrella's activities, and its work with BOWs, including the T-virus. Later, they find themselves in the lab itself, where Jill or Chris, whichever one you're not playing as, is being kept captive in a cage by Albert Wesker, who reveals himself as the traitor to surviving STARS members and involved with Umbrella stuff. Barry intervenes, reveals the truth, but Wesker forces him into humiliation, raising his gun on the player to prove who's really in control. But it doesn't hold. The moment Wesker lets himself gloat and admits the family threat was never as solid as Barry feared, the spell breaks. Barry snaps back to himself, turns the gun the only way he can without killing anyone, and drops Wesker with a brutal, desperate strike, choosing the player, choosing his team, and finally refusing to be used. Hoping to get rid of STARS once and for all, Wesker releases a tyrant that he hopes will attack and kill STARS. The first person the tyrant attacks, however, is Wesker himself, stabbing him through the chest and seemingly killing him. But not really, as you may have guessed, and more on that later. Unbeknownst to Chris and Jill, long before any of this spirals out of control, Wesker secretly injects himself with a modified viral strain, an insurance policy that doesn't matter at the moment but will cast a long shadow over everything that follows. Chris or Jill then take on the tyrant, and after a desperate struggle are able to defeat the bioweapon, following which they trigger the lab's self-destruct sequence. Resident Evil 1's canon ending, or the good ending, sees Chris, Jill, Rebecca, and Barry Burton successfully escaping Spencer Mansion aboard a chopper piloted by the returning Brad Vickers, while the mansion and everything inside is blown sky high. And that's where Resident Evil 1 ends. When we return for part 4 of our Resident Evil recap, we'll be headed to Raccoon City, where things will continue to go monumentally wrong. So fun times ahead.
And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at Gaming Vault, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.